Hey everybody, welcome to the jungle. Welcome to Saving Green's Homestead. My name is Keisha, and if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I welcome you. You guys, we just got back from our vacation a couple of days ago, and this is what I came home to. It is literally a jungle out here. I don't know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting it to be dead, I guess, or not thriving as well, but we tried to set it up before we left. We tried to make sure that everything was going to water and work while we were gone, so it did. And I have so much stuff to show you. There's so much that I need to harvest out of this garden. There's so much new stuff, new growth, just new beautiful things to show you guys. So Sunny and I are gonna take you around and we're gonna show you things that is new and exciting. And then in another video, I'm gonna start cleaning this jungle mess up because I have a garden tour coming up in October. And I want to make sure that my garden is looking nice and everything is not overgrown like how you see over here with grass and everything, but that everything is neat and clipped and trimmed. So I guess let's get started. First, I want to show you guys these two pumpkins over here. Now, if you recall, they were little before I left, and now they've got some good size on them just in a week. And that branch, that vine is traveling still all the way over. Now it's almost over to my dog's area. So it's still growing and stretching out. But now it has those two big pumpkins on there. And then also there's this Jardel pumpkin back here that is bigger even than when we left, and he's still doing good. And there is a birdhouse gourd sitting on the sitting on the bed right there. Interesting. Also, there is another pumpkin that just started, that just popped up while we were gone, because that wasn't there before we left. So the pumpkins are doing pretty good. They're starting to wind down though. They're starting to wind down, and so I'm getting a lot of powdery mildew on the leaves. And so also with birdhouse gourd too, on their leaves, I'm getting a lot of powdery mildew. So I'm gonna have to go through and cut those leaves off, try and trim as many as I can away, so that it doesn't continue to spread. Although I believe there's no really stopping it or helping it now, because these plants are just old and they're already past their prime. But this all looks really good except for all the grass that's growing here. So my green stalk didn't fare as well, and I didn't think it would. Although I have it prepped for water, I didn't get a chance to connect it to the water source, so it went without much water. My son was watering for me while I was gone, and I told him to water over here, but it just didn't do as good. If I would have had it connected to the water, then maybe it would have did better. But I mean, it's still alive. It just needs some work, that's all. I've got tomatoes galore that needs to be picked, and so we're gonna do that. But there's even new tomatoes, babies, starting on this plant. And there's some that are ready. I see the coloration of one down here. It's ready to be picked. So I'm gonna have to get him out. And then there's other big ones down in here. I don't know if you guys can see that one down there because he kind of blends in, but there's other big ones in there. So I'm always happy about that. This is not the only tomato that is ready. I have plenty more that are ready for picking. And then just look at that trellis. All that tomato, cherry tomato plant that's up there on that trellis. That's what's making this trellis right now. Oh, and there's beans hanging. I didn't see the beans hanging. Let me see if I can get in close for those. Look at those beans right there hanging down. There's a lot of them too. I think those are rattlesnake beans. So I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are thinking, that garden is a mess. And you know what? It is. It is a mess. But hey, it's producing. It's growing food. I got stuff to pick and still use and feed my family. It's not a dying mess. It's a growing mess. Look at this, you guys. Look at all of this. Just take this all in. And look at, we got, not hiding anymore, big old jacuzzi gourd right here. That thing is huge. Oh, and I think I see another one growing on top, but it's hard to see from here. But there's another one growing. It's laying across the top of the trellis there. I don't know if you guys can see him. He's like right there. Anyways, oh my goodness. So much growth. And I love that my tomatoes are putting on babies right now. The weather is really good for it. There's some tomatoes in there that's ready. I think there's one or two of these sun sugar cherry tomatoes. And then there's some noodle beans that are ready too. I get to work on getting them all pulled up and out of here. Look at that. My husband and I are gonna come out here and do that later because we're gonna have to take our son to the airport so he could go back home. All these raunchy looking leaves, I'm cutting off. So this isn't gonna look as full as it does now because I'm gonna cut off a lot of these bad leaves and leave a lot of the good ones and hope to prolong this a little further. Look at this. It's a birdhouse gourd. Just hanging right here. And there's some pumpkins. These are called sweet meat. I think they're, yeah, sweet meat. And there was one hanging up on here. I'll see if I can find him. That's the thing, it's hard trying to find these things. Oh, here he is. Look, he's right there. He's there. There's some others too. It's just hard to see them because they're all mixed up in all of this greenery. But they're there. And this birdhouse gourd is starting to travel out from, venture out from this space here. But look how pretty this is. It's just all over. It's just growing all over. And then these tomatoes exploded right here in growth and are taking over this walkway that I had made right here. I haven't seen my tortoises since I've been back. They've been staying in their burrows. But this all looks really good. Look who's coming over. This all looks really good though. And my pomegranates are turning red now, which means they're almost ready to be picked. And there's a good amount of them in here. Like if I go under, you can see there's a whole bunch of them hanging all around there. And they're turning red, so I'm happy about that. There's a lot of tomatoes on this Mexico midget tomato plant that are growing. And so we'll be getting those off, picking them off of here. And there's more peppers that are ready. There's jalapeno peppers over here hanging. There's the peppers over here on these plants. Okay, so I'm now on the other side of my garden. And look at this big old okra that grew while we were gone. It's huge. There's some others. I gotta get those all pulled off of here. And then look at these. I gotta get those pulled off too. I made some jambalaya, creamy jambalaya soup last night. And I was gonna put some of the okra in it. And my kids and my husband was like, no, because they didn't want it to be all slimy in the soup. I'm gonna take those off and I'm gonna cook them up and I'm gonna stick them in my soup. I won't do that to them and put it in theirs, but I'll put it in mine and see if I like it that way. These are prairie fire tomatoes. Look at all those tomato plants is doing good. They're growing wild all over the place, sprawled everywhere. I never did put them up on those bamboo sticks, so they just are wherever they've been growing, that's where they've been growing. But it looks really cool because, okay, it does look messy, but it looks cool to me because it's just wild. It's time for me to get some of these tomatillos picked because they look nice and golden and ready. So I'll be getting those harvested as well. The plants are starting to get powdery mildew on them, so I'm not gonna have them for very much longer. My lemons are doing good. And that single orange that I have growing on this orange tree over here is doing good. See, just one orange. But I'm watching him. He's doing good. All of this I'm gonna end up cutting out. All of these squash plants, I'm gonna end up taking them out because they're all getting powdery mildew anyways. And dying off anyway, so I'm gonna get those all pulled out. But look at that tomato plant. That is so beautiful, so full and healthy. I don't see any tomatoes on there yet, but I will be exploring to see what I can find on there. This bed has a lot of surprises going on with it. Things that I didn't see before we left, that wasn't there before we left, and now all of a sudden, bam, it's there. Mostly being these eggplant. Look at that. That is so pretty. The colors on that is so pretty. And there's more flowers up here. This bed wasn't doing all that great anyways because of the water issue I was having with it, with the tubes popping off constantly, but it started to make a comeback. Look at that eggplant, has some flowers. Maybe he'll put on some fruit too. Then over here in this tomato container section, there's ripe tomatoes all to be had over here. Tomatoes all over these plants. I mean, just full of tomatoes. So I had to come out here and pick those. We're gonna weed whack and get all this grass put away because it's just all over the place. Things aren't doing so hot in this bed here. Like I said, my son was watering for me. I think he wasn't watering long enough to get a deep watering in there if he watered. So these are struggling a little bit, but I am here to take over and to nurture and nourish my garden again, so we'll see what happens with them if they survive. So that is it, you guys. This is how this garden looks now. And I am so happy to be back home in my garden. I missed this place. I missed the sun, actually, because while we were in Alaska, there was hardly any sunlight going on. It was raining most of the time. And I'll share more about our trip and our vacation in a future video. But I am going to get to work to get this garden looking so much better than what it is now. I have to. I'm impressed by time and by a deadline, so I gotta get this all cleaned up and ready to present. So thank you so much, you guys, for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one when I harvest up everything. So until then, and as always, God bless.